Hello, everybody. My name's James. Welcome back to the Weekender, where myself and David Hunt will be taking a deeper dive into some of the big football stories from this week and having a little look ahead to the weekend. How are you, David?
Hello, mate. Yeah, I'm all good. Thanks. Happy Friday. How are you?
Yeah, happy Friday. I'm good because jury service is
Hey.
finished. I'm out, no commitments. That means I can plan next week properly. Everything very, very good. And for anyone who's concerned, is not guilty, I'm afraid to say. Should I say afraid to say? Is not guilty anyway.
Case closed.
Few guilty parties in Grimsby this week though. There's only one place to start, which will be with Manchester United. We're gonna have a little look at the UCL draw, cover off some transfers. We're gonna do a bit of a tactical preview of Chelsea and Fulham this weekend. And we're gonna have a look at some free hit drafts. Some of you will be on it, and also some wildcard drafts as well. And we'll also have a look at Palmer, Saka potential replacements as well. But yes, story of the week, no doubt, is Manchester United losing to Grimsby in the Carabao Cup. I didn't have the pleasure of watching it until about 10 minutes to go. So I thought I'd cursed it with obviously me putting it on and Maguire equalising. And then all throughout penalties, thought United would go through. The penalty shootout went so long that my boy Harry actually started watching it with me and fell asleep at around about 8-8. You watched all of it, David. So I mean, how bad were United?
First half, they were bad. Yeah. Second half, they were, in the end, I guess, a little bit unlucky not to pinch it by the end. But yeah, I mean, the first thing to say, I know United's a story here, but I think we should give Grimsby their flowers here to start with. It's an amazing night for them. Obviously, Sky picked it for a reason. They were hoping for exactly what they got. And
It's fair to say whoever United played in this round would have been picked
yeah,
far away, though.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it just had all the ingredients. Like it was torrential rain for long periods of the game. Grimsby and the crowd were obviously bang up for it. Few standout performers for Grimsby, like two goal scorers, Vernam and Warren, were brilliant. Christy Pinn, the goalkeeper, makes an incredible save from Bruno Fernandes, skidding off the water in the second half. So yeah, I did just want to shout out Grimsby. Amazing night for them.
Did you see what the
Um,
keeper said in the interview after the game?
Only because of what you said. Yeah, yeah, it's great like that.
He said, he said, I'm half pissed off because I'm a Man United fan. It's absolutely brilliant. And he did look a bit vexed as well, despite obviously being really delighted as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, first off, Grimsby were just a real threat the whole game. United just could not get anything going. Just really doesn't reflect well on them whatsoever. Amorim brings on Bruno Fernandes at half time and a couple of others as well. Um, and it was pretty much incessant United pressure in the second half. Bumo scores a good goal. But Grimsby had slightly controversial goal ruled out at 2-0, where it would have probably all been kind of academic what United did after that. But yes, Onana, it's we can get on to Amorim in a
It's
minute.
still
But if
better
you
than being there. I'm going to put it out there.
yeah, if United have a semi-competent keeper, it's probably a comfortable win
Uh,
on
uh,
Wednesday.
Alex Trimber said to a correspondent week there that I forget the fella's name, serious interest in a goalkeeper, I think from Royal Antwerp, and that name keeps cropping up. I mean, they're going to end up buying him and putting him straight in goal, aren't they? I think because that position looks almost untenable for the rest at the moment.
Unless, like Alex said in correspondent week, did he just Tom Heaton? Did he just give him a go? Is he
No, come on.
what's he like? I don't know.
I know what he was like 10 years ago. He was was a very decent Premier League goalkeeper 10 years ago.
Yeah,
When did Nick Pope get in the Burnley team? What are we talking about here? 2017-ish, I want to
yeah,
say.
sounds about right. Yeah,
I mean, yeah, so I think 10 years ago for Tom Heaton is probably a fair call.
yeah.
I don't think it was just the fact that United went out.
No,
There
in
was thing,
isolation, that's not a big story, I don't think. But
well, it kind of is in the sense
yeah,
United have never lost to a fourth tier team in a cup competition. So, in theory, from that perspective, it is one of the worst results in Manchester United's history. I don't think that's can be questioned. The problem is the fallout, particularly in around Amrim and some of his mannerisms during the game, during the penalty shootout. After the game, he's got this clip that's going around where he's playing around with his book and formations and stuff. And I'm watching that and I think, I don't know why you're doing with that, mate, because you play the same fucking way every game anyway. So what's the point with that? The not watching the penalty shootout is you want your boys to stand up and be confident. Well, I think personally, stand up, be confident with them. Obviously, look, if they win, no one spinks about it. And then the interview afterwards, which was very kind of mixed signals that, I mean, almost suggested that in a way he knew he wasn't the right man. And I think it's worth saying he has previously offered his resignation to Manchester United. And I
Yeah.
wouldn't be surprised if he does again after this weekend.
Yeah, he made a cryptic comment, or maybe not that cryptic, saying we'll get through the Burnley game and we'll see, we'll judge things after that during the international break. He sounded a little bit like you wouldn't mind the sack, in all honesty. Um, I did. I mean, you might think as a Liverpool fan, I really enjoyed United going out, and I did from that point of view. But
Well,
I
everybody would
didn't.
who doesn't support them, in
Yeah,
fairness. Of
Liverpool fans would enjoy it. United fans would enjoy it if it was Liverpool. I know that,
course.
but I actually don't enjoy seeing Amorim be like that. You know, anyone with a shred of empathy, you're looking at a guy pretty stressed at work there. It looks like it's really getting to him. And I think the tide turned on Wednesday because I think all of us realised that he is a good manager. I mean, what he did in Portugal, you know, to kind of break the monopoly of Benfica and Porto in the way he did is a job well done. But it's clearly not working in over here in England, is it? And the the images of him fiddling with his tactic board on the bench in the rain, it kind of reminded me a little bit of Steve McLaren
I knew he was going to say McLaren. Yeah, a little bit.
when he was at Wembley. And it's, there was all the memes being done, some of which were quite funny. Never
Have you
takes
seen the one where he's DJing?
And it's, from a kind of PR point of view, it's difficult to shake that, I guess, at some point. Because I think I heard a stat that he hasn't won 2 league games in a row yet the entire time he's been there at Old Trafford. But I feel like he's kind of gone into mocking territory now. And I think once you get to that point, it's quite difficult to turn that round, I think. So, yeah, it's who knows what to expect
I
tomorrow.
think
Yeah.
you will have heard me say this a lot in the past. I think Manchester United's fan base is probably the most patient in the league.
Yeah,
And
100%.
it's an influence. And when I say that, I mean the people that go regularly to Old Trafford, etc. We have, despite all these failed managers over the last 12 years since Ferguson went, I have never heard any of them get called for, we want X out, for example.
Yeah, that's right.
And I don't think you'll get that this time either. I think it's kind of built into them because of what happened under Ferguson, that they want to be patient. They know the experience. Everybody knows the history of it, right? That fella was 3 years into his job and nearly lost his job, right? And then became pretty much the most successful manager in English football history. So they want to be patient and give people a chance. I think there's a couple of things at play here. One, the last two appointments that United have made are, with all due respect, from the Netherlands and Portugal, respectively. We're not talking about nationalities here. We're talking about the leagues they've come from. And they have been best in class in terms of those leagues. Ten Hag, remember, very nearly took Ajax to a Champions League final. Can't remember who beat them. Sporting Lisbon in Amorim's last game beat Manchester City 4-1. Like, the credentials of what the capability of these managers could be was very good. It's also worth acknowledging your manager came straight from the Eredivisie, David, and won the Premier League very comfortably last season. So, like,
We were linked with Amarin before Slot as well.
it can work. There's no doubt about it. But I think now it's probably become a stigma. I think the other night probably was a step too far for many Manchester United fans. I would pull the reins back a little bit and say, if United had won, even if they'd won on penalties, would people have gone quite as over the top as they have? And people are entitled to go over the top because each obviously shouldn't be happening. But if United had won 1-0 at Grimsby, not played very well, I don't think we're sitting here having this conversation right now. What we highlighted in pre-season was that those first 5 fixtures were an absolute bitch for United in terms of the Premier League fixtures. We never even factored that they might go out the second round of the Carabao Cup to a fourth tier side. And we said that if it started badly, the knives would potentially be out pretty quickly. Now, the first 2 league performances have been okay, I think. Like, the results aren't good, but I think all of us felt they played quite well against Arsenal.
Did they
So,
though?
yeah, I think a lot of us saw improvements. And you would expect that with the improved individual quality of the likes of Bumo, Cunha in the team, right? At Fulham, I wasn't impressed with the way Fulham played on Sunday. Marco Silva altered his tactics because of real concern about how United play. In a different circumstance, we're not having this conversation. Unfortunately, the events have now happened. That's going to stick for a while. If they do not win tomorrow against Burnley, then you've got carnage.
Yeah.
And I think he probably won't make the Manchester Derby in game week 4. I think that there's every chance he'll offer his resignation himself. I don't know if United will accept it. I presume they probably should, because if Amrin wants to sit tight and be an arsehole, that's more compensation that we don't know if United can really afford under a PSR line.
Yeah, I think I've heard him say before, if he ever got the inclination that people weren't behind the project that he's trying to be in charge of, he would have no problem walking away without any compensation. I think he has said that.
Do you know what? He comes
Yeah,
across as a good man.
yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I think we've spoken about before. Maybe you and I haven't spoken about it, but I believe it, and I think you said it before as well. With United and Liverpool playing for and managing those clubs of that size, you've got to have a certain kind of amount of, you've got to be able to withstand a lot in terms of what that playing for them and managing them offers. And I just think like not watching a penalty shootout as Manchester United boss is not, that just doesn't look good,
I think
unfortunately.
until Wednesday, he'd handled it all right.
He's looked quite haunted a few times, I think. But
We did the other night.
yeah, he looked haunted the other night. Yeah, I definitely don't want to stick the boot in too much on Amarin, because I felt a bit sorry for him actually on Wednesday. But it sounds like if it goes badly tomorrow, it could run its course quite quickly, I think.
I think there's a couple of sides to finish on. One, I saw a few videos popping about yesterday of concern about United getting relegated. I saw one guy leaning out of his van speaking to Sky Sports, was like, if we don't sort it out, we're going to get relegated. Whatever you think of Manchester United, they have added a lot of attacking quality to a team that was struggling to score goals last year. And that is by no way going to be a concern. We can see that from the 2 league games so far this season. A lot of us tipped United to have a very good season and finish sort of like 5th.
Yeah,
I still think they will.
it's not out of the question.
But it might be under a different manager.
Yeah, it could
That
be.
they might bounce quite quickly. I think a lot of us think that they could put a team out tomorrow that's 4-2-3-1. You go, did annihilate Burnley. That's how it feels. And I think more and more people are beginning to think that. I reflect on the first time I saw his team play against mine was a 4-3 game in the Carabao Cup quarterfinal last year. Net press in the first half was really, really good. I saw some really encouraging signs, actually, I felt that night. I do reflect on it in hindsight and think, Jesus, was my team just that shit at the time, by the way? But we still beat them that night. By the way, we got ourselves into a position where we were 3-0 up and nearly blew it. I think, yeah, we could have a number of managerial changes in the next couple of weeks quite suddenly. From being asked in pre-season, who do you think the first manager will get sat? And you're like, oh, that's a tough one. Now we're looking at it going, we don't quite know what the situation with Forest, if that's worked out. Potter at West Ham, this now with Amram at United. Yeah, there might be a few changes
Did you see
incoming.
who Charlie Austin was on Sky Sports News yesterday? Did you see who he thinks should come in?
Oh, go on, make me laugh.
Sean Dyche. He said either Zinedine Zidane or Sean Dyche. So there's kind of got all bases covered there, I think.
Well, coincidence or not, in the last 24 hours, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has been sacked by Besiktas and confirmed this morning that Jose
Yeah.
Mourinho has left Fenerbahce as well. So, I mean, I think what you don't go backwards and go for a caretaker there. But I guess the problem would be if United fans sit back and go, right, we need to change. Then what do you want?
Ruud van Nistelrooy available again.
The obvious one, I think, and I'm sorry to Palace fans and congratulations on getting through
Yeah.
last night, but if they want to stay with a back 3 manager, Oliver Glasner is the obvious choice to go to. And whatever you think of United, that is too big of a poll. If United go, you have to take that job. Although many will be saying it's a poison chalice. I do think, by the way, they will have way too much tomorrow, and I don't think it's good for Burnley that United are surely going to be up for showing a response.
Yeah.
We will talk their FPL assets in a little bit. Just to round up a little bit in terms of the Carabao Cup from midweek. Sunderland obviously went out on penalties to Huddersfield. Leeds went out on penalties to Sheffield Wednesday. Bournemouth lost at home to Brentford. So quietly, Brentford have had a pretty good week after a disaster opening day. And I was still in the office when the West Ham team dropped on Tuesday, and I nearly messaged Serge. We discussed it later in the week. But when I saw the West Ham team, I thought, well, you've got to win because you've gone pretty strong. And it seems like Wolves put their big guns on at the end and turned it round. So not great. We obviously saw an incident with Jared Bowen wanting to have an argument with a fan and stuff. I'm sure they'll be up for their trip to Nottingham Forest tomorrow, but I don't have the confidence in them that I have in United, bizarrely, the other one, Manchester. In terms of the draw for the third round, obviously the European teams were kept apart, bar Crystal Palace, and that's because the Conference League starts later on in the season. The reason that's happened is Champions League has 1 week and Europa League has 1 week. Essentially, if a Champions League team drew a Europa League team, there is nowhere to play the football match. So that's why they fudged it. The consequence of that is the draw has been pretty kind to the teams in Europe. So Villa have got the worst of it away to Brentford. It's lower league opposition for everybody else. Liverpool at home to Southampton, Newcastle at home to Bradford, Tottenham are at home to Doncaster, Chelsea go to Lincoln, Manchester City go to Huddersfield, Arsenal go to Port Vale. I think the message on those fixtures as well is expect heavy rotation, which is good news if you're concerned about rotation for Premier League games, either side of that. Crystal Palace have drawn Millwall. And they played each other obviously in the FA Cup last year. On the line on Crystal Palace, I'm going to pass people back to what I said on the Chip Strategy podcast right near the start of that in pre-season, the week before the season started. We don't need to think too much about the possibility of Crystal Palace having a blank game week, as is possible in game week 16. Round 4 of the Carabao Cup, should Palace advance past Millwall and then that round, is before game week 10. Nothing is going to come as a shock to you if suddenly there is a Crystal Palace blank. And also remember, what do we also get in game week 16, David?
Is it AFCON? AFCON transfers?
Five free transfers. So we'll probably get to deal with it at the time. Should Palace have a game postponed over that period because they're in the Carabao Cup quarterfinals, I would suggest the Leeds fixture in game week 17 is the most likely. Their fixtures either side of that are Manchester City and Tottenham, and their involvement in the Champions League will complicate matters. As I said on that Chip Strategy podcast, I think the most likely scenario is that Palace would have pissed the Conference League so easily that they'll just play Carabao Cup on the Wednesday and Conference League on the Thursday. If we did have a postponed fixture, the double would almost certainly be in 2026.
Right.
The blank obviously could happen. It could be impacted for who Palace draw. We will cover that as and when it matters. At the moment, my opinion is that it doesn't. Talk to me about some transfers. Oh no, let's do UCL draw first. Reaction as a Liverpool fan, David, first and foremost.
Yeah, okay, thanks. Okay, thanks. Okay, actually.
It wasn't me. I didn't do it.
Thank you for supplying these fixtures for me, James.
My boy keeps saying that, by the way. He's in the house with me and he nicks something. He's like, it wasn't me. You've really got to work on your lying game, boy.
Yeah, it was all right, I think. Of course, we got Real Madrid at home with Trent, the whole Trent narrative. Whether he plays will be interesting because I think Danny Carvajal might be a missing for Danny Carvajal that rather than Trent. But yeah, spicy. We got Frankfurt away, so I could see K back to Frankfurt for that one. I think the away trips will be spicier, maybe off the pitch than on it, because we've got Marseille and Galatasaray as two of them, two rowdy atmospheres, I think, there. But yeah, I don't think we can complain. I think last season it looked pretty rough when we got, we had Milan away first up, we had Real Madrid, Leverkusen, Leipzig, look quite difficult, and we ended up, breezing through it. So you just never know what it's going to be like in reality versus on paper. But yeah, can't complain. What do you make of yours?
It's a great draw for Tottenham.
Yeah.
I think most of the English sides are okay out of this. I think you're okay. I think Chelsea okay. I think City's okay. I think your draws are all quite similar. I think Arsenal's draw is pretty good. I know they pulled out Bilbao away from pot 4, but I think the rest of what they got from 2 and 3 was okay. In the sense, Atletico Madrid at home, rather than away. I think Bruges would probably have been the hand-picked kind of away game that you would have got from pot two. Olympiacos, Slavia Prague from three is okay. And even having Kairat at home, you didn't want to get them away because it's the further east than Afghanistan. It's about a 9 hour flight, apparently.
It's mad, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, so none of the English teams have copped that big journey. It's worth saying Sporting Lisbon do host Kairat at home. I don't know what the mileage is on that, but that is outrageous.
It's mad.
It's not really a Champions League fixture. It's like a different planet fixture. So they've got Kairat at home. So I think their draw's okay. Also, Inter Milan away from pot one. There's worse ones they could have got there. I think my team's come out best. So for those on YouTube, you'll see a table at the moment, which is essentially me ordering all the fixtures for all 36 teams based on difficulty. And this is not something I reacted to last night. These ratings are all done based on bookmakers' odds before the draw was made. The two teams that come out best are Tottenham and Juventus. Then it's Ajax and then Arsenal. The English team that's got it worse by a distance is Newcastle.
Yeah.
Is a really, really challenging draw. By the way, just for the record, the team worst of the lot in the draw that I've got are the champions, Paris Saint-Germain. The only team from all 36 that don't have, in my opinion, a designated green fixture. Their three easiest fixtures on my ticker are Atalanta at home, Tottenham at home, and Sporting Lisbon away. Sorry, Sporting Club de Portugal.
Sporting Club de Portugal.
I mean, they've even pulled out Newcastle and Bilbao, which by a distance were the two strongest teams in pot four, from my opinion. So PSG got the worst of it. I think that from my perspective, I looked at the draw and thought, well, there's every chance you could finish top eight here. A little bit like Villa's opened up quite nicely last year. We've got PSG away, but I think the home games are good. Dortmund, Villarreal, Slavia Prague, and Copenhagen
Yeah.
are a good set of home games. Frankfurt away, we've got experience of. Bodo away, we've got experience of. Which, by the way, you won't play shit like Frankfurt and Bodo Glimt in the Champions League. Well, yes, we will. Thank you very much. And we got a trip to Monaco as well, which Monaco, decent side, but it's not one you put a couple under that intimidated atmosphere category.
No, not at all. No.
Monaco obviously does not fall into that category. I was looking last night, the patrons know this, I put it on the Tottenham Slack channel. I was looking at routes to Monaco last night, and I was looking at going via Nice is probably the way. It's not far from Nice at all, thinking that's easy enough. And there's a place in between Nice and Monaco called Eza. I think someone's absolutely taking the piss out of me. Might have some Tottenham good transfer news in a bit. There's a few others I want to cover off first. We will, by the way, on UCL Draw, at some point on one bit of content over the next couple of weeks during the break, once we know which fixtures are going where, we'll have more of a look and breakdown in terms of which games are going to cause concern and alarm in terms of maybe like Premier League rotation and stuff.
There's a Twitter account called Football Rankings that I know you and I
I follow
both,
it. Yeah,
both like. So they use a metric called ELO or ELO ratings, and they
got top.
They published their top 5 teams with the hardest opponents from their point of view. So their top 5 are PSG, as you've just said, PSV, Union Saint-Gilloise, Newcastle, and Atletico Madrid. The easiest.
Okay, I've got Atletico Madrid a lot higher on mine, by the way. My bottom 5, worst 5 were PSG, PSV, Frankfurt, Union, and Benfica. I had Newcastle 7th worst.
Yeah, what they deem to have the easiest of it are Paphos, FC Copenhagen, Olympiacos, Inter, and notably Arsenal. They think, per their ratings, they've got a good draw. So Arsenal's fixtures, they've got Bayern at home and Inter away from pot 1, Atletico home, Bruges away in pot 2, Olympiacos home, Slavia Prague away in pot 3, and they're at home to Kairat and away to Athletic Bilbao in pot 4.
That's very interesting. So that must mean, because like I said, I've not come up with these ratings myself. These are all based on bookmakers' odds.
Yeah.
So there's obviously something there.
Slight differences, yeah.
Yeah, which is fair enough. I mean, Copenhagen, I don't even have in the top half.
Okay.
In terms of best fixtures. They've pulled out the two strongest sides from pot 3 in Napoli and Tottenham. So I don't know quite how that works out, that their fixtures
are, me neither.
Are particularly good, actually. I'm not sure about that at all. What was I going to say? Tell me, David. Uh,
Transfers.
Transfers. Yeah. Give us a lowdown on a few players. Wolves have got a new player, which you're going to pronounce, and I'm not.
Ladislav Krejci, absolute Ladislav. They've not a player I was familiar with before they signed him, but as is the norm on this show, I've done a bit of a try to find a little bit more about all these players. So Ladislav Krejci, 26 years old. Wolves have signed him on loan from Girona. He's a left-footed centre back. And wait till you see his goals record from centre back in the Czech league. He scored 44 goals in 148 games for Sparta Prague, which is 13 penalties, but still that's quite notable. Worth saying for Girona, he only got 2 in 28, so probably doesn't translate to playing at a high level. But yeah, I think Wolves probably did need some defensive reinforcements, didn't they? So useful pick up on loan. Don't know whether you anything you want to say on Krejci for that one.
No, I had a look. I didn't look at him in the detail that you would have, but I had a look at a few clips of him this morning. Very left-footed, and actually puts in quite a number of deep crosses. It was just from a bit of a YouTube montage that I looked at. So, I mean, very much you're looking at left-sided centre back, which I think Toti Gomez is pretty competent there for Wolves. I felt they needed a right-sided centre back way more personally. But probably a depth signing, I would suggest, probably for the time being.
Yep.
Who should we cover next, David? You can throw me a name. We covering Mateus Fernandes, are we? That's here we go this morning. I think West Ham United employees said at time of recording, which is Friday morning, that's probably going to get announced today.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be announced today. This is exactly what West Ham need, in my opinion. I feel like for as long as I can remember, their midfield has just been so meh and plodding and quite old, and they've needed someone with high energy and with a bit of a goal in them. And yeah, this is not a bad fee as well. I think whenever I saw him for Southampton last season, he always looked one of their better players from my point of view. So he's 21, Portuguese, not been capped by Portugal yet, plays central midfield. Looked at his heat map for the Saints last season and it was very busy. He plays all over the place, quite an all-action midfielder. Gets forward when he can. Looking at his data, reasonable numbers, both attacking and defensively. So he's got good scoring on FBref for tackles and blocks from the defensive side of things. But he's good at progressive carries, successful take-ons. And he slightly underperformed his attacking data from a goals point of view. So maybe there are more goals in him playing with a better team at West Ham eventually. Maybe not at the moment than Southampton were last season. So yeah, I think for West Ham fans, they should be pleased at this signing. Sounds like they're linked to another couple of other midfielders as well, which may get done next week before the window shuts.
Yeah, midfield is a desperate need for them. He's a good player, Fernandes. I think what next one has got to be right. Good ball playing / enforcer, number 6, and that situation will look a lot better for them. I said this was I felt for West Ham the biggest week for all the Premier League clubs in terms of transfer window. I expect them to be busy over the weekend. Feels like they've got to be. Everton have signed Tyler Dibling, which is interesting because I feel like when we spoke about Dibling a lot over the last year, despite the fact he plays on the opposite side, the player that's been unavoidable to compare him to is Jack Grealish.
Yeah. Dibling and Grealish and Ndiaye sounds fun, doesn't it? In the same team. Yeah, I mean, I think everyone's seen a little bits and bobs of Dibling, but plays on the right, left-footed. Everton have played 3 games this season and they played 3 different players on the right. They played Alcaraz at Leeds, they played Ndiaye there against Brighton, and Dwight McNeil played there in midweek against Mansfield. So Moyes is trying different things there while Dibling gets up to speed, but it looks like it would be a spot where Dibling can make that his own, I guess, in due course. Yeah, I think Moyes will be a good manager for him. He believes in. I think he likes flair more than people think. Moyes.
I keep saying this. Yeah, I think back to the Pinars and the Artetas and stuff that played from in the past. Yeah, I agree with that.
So yeah, good signing.
I think there'll be no requirement or need for Everton to rush him into the team. And I don't think that's particularly going to happen. I think he's obviously had a pretty disrupted pre-season as well, so we shouldn't expect him to be going straight into the team. So I think the three currently and Dyer, Dewsbury Hall, Grealish will be first choice for the foreseeable. It's certainly in terms of the immediate future. Fast forward 6 weeks or so, that might change, but I don't think Everton need to rush him in. There's no doubt in the talent. Southampton may feel like they've been robbed. They've only got sort of 40% or so of the fee that they originally wanted in the summer.
Yeah. Apparently they went back to Everton, didn't they? Saying actually we will take some money for him.
Yeah,
So
I
yeah,
think the 100 million figure was to tell everyone we don't really want to sell him.
yeah.
It was never going to be 100 million. Yeremy Pino of Villarreal, I presume won't be playing against Tottenham. There's one player who might be playing in that fixture. I would suggest might get booed. By the way, tell me about Yeremy Pino, who I very much looks like he's going to Crystal Palace. We think, David.
Yeah, it's not confirmed yet. And I don't know if it's gone a little bit quiet on this one. He got the here we go from Romano about 2 days ago, and
It's
we
probably
haven't
an
heard
influence of
anything.
Palace having a game yesterday, maybe a little
Yeah,
bit. If they're
perhaps. Yeah,
comfortable, focus on the game. It's obviously a big day for Palace, obviously qualifying for the Conference League. Might be that.
yeah, yeah. He's Spanish, 22. He's been capped 15 times by Spain, which passed me by. I must admit. Three goals. Rumored 30 million euros, which I think is for a player of his age and profile is very reasonable. I'd look at his data. Looks a good all rounder in terms of attacking and defensive data, particularly defensive actually. So I think I'm not convinced he'll be an FPL asset straight away. Yeah, good attacking data, but very good data for tackles and blocks. When compared to other midfielders in the top 5 leagues over the last year. So we'll give a lot to Palace, just from a team point of view. Mostly played on the right recently, but he sounds like the Eze replacement. So I think he'll probably play on the left for Palace, with Ismail Sarr playing on the right. His attacking numbers broadly hits his underlying metrics. So 0.19 XG per 90, 0.33 XA per 90. As always, I have a little look at who these players are compared to in FBref, and his number one comparison was Dejan Kulusevski, actually. So might be a little bit similar to him when we see him play week in, week out. But yeah, it sounds like the Eze replacement if and when he arrives.
Yeah, that's certainly how it's been described. I know a few of our Palace patrons were discussing on Slack, talking about the statistical profile of Eze and Pino be really, really similar. So absolutely looks like an Eze replacement. Two big stories that developed yesterday. One, I mean, they're kind of both left field in terms of thoughts at the start of the week. But Nick Woltemade going to Newcastle was just one of them rare ones like, oh, didn't see that coming. And it was like, it's done, basically. It was like every hour, Newcastle were going back to Wolves with another couple of million for last, and just suddenly went, no, he's not the one, bollocks. We're going in a different direction. And have got it done very quickly. I'm sure they've been working on it in the background.
Yeah, yeah, Voltemade. He so I had a look at his data. I saw him a little bit in the under 21 tournament in the summer.
When played a tournament, didn't he?
Yeah, absolute giant, 6'6". Can play a bit deeper. You kind of think someone that tall probably just be a bit of a, maybe it's a lazy cliche, a bit of a beanpole striker who just sort of Jan Collar style from yesteryear, just sort of nods things in. But there is more to him than that, I think. Looking at his data, surprisingly poor aerial data.
Strange, Danny. Like Crouch was never great
Yeah,
in the air, considering his
100%.
size.
Yeah, 67th percentile aerials won versus other forwards in the top 5th league for 6'6" striker. But he does have good data for. I think we could be in good touch for a big man territory here, James. We can maybe say that. So good data. So he started 17 times for Stuttgart last season in the Bundesliga, scored 12 goals. So he hasn't played a massive amount of football. He's quite young, isn't he? So maybe that's to be expected. Slight overperformance last season, so 0.67 goals per 90 versus an expected 0.57. And notably on FBref, two of the strikers he's compared to, Alexander Isak and Hugo Ekitike. So Newcastle, I don't think, are panic buying here. He's probably been on their radar, and maybe they've got to a point with Isak where they just think, enough's enough, let's just get rid. And look at the list of who might be
I'm
able to do
so
similar
tired
bits.
of this Isak story.
Yeah,
I'm sure everybody is, and it's such a big headline. And again, we keep talking about it, so I can't be critical of anybody else. But even myself, and I'm not attached to it, and I don't really care. It's like I feel like I've changed my own time 10, 15 times on whether thinking he's going to go or not. And I kind of settled this way and thought, "Do you know what? I think he'll end up signing a new contract with like a release clause." We did a piece on Money in Football this week about the potential of Isak invoking Article 17 next year and potentially leaving Newcastle on a free. Now, for clarity, we haven't got enough time to talk about this in a lot of detail, but Newcastle would be heavily compensated. He wouldn't just leave Newcastle for free. But I've come to the conclusion, yeah, there was probably a solution here that would work for everybody, right? Get a proper release clause fixed in, give us another year, go. But the insider words, even a lot of our Newcastle patrons were speculating last night saying, yeah, the word is now that he might be open for Isak to go, but might also be waiting on Newcastle to buy another forward, and therefore this could go to deadline day.
it's going to happen, I think, isn't it? The Isak thing. I think probably Newcastle will maybe try and get another striker. Maybe Visser still doesn't seem like he's going to play for
Jackson
Brentford.
feels like the obvious one now at this stage.
Maybe Jackson.
Yeah.
Maybe Newcastle fans, if you give them Jackson and Woltemade, maybe they're kind of happy with that in the end. I don't know. Yeah, I know what you mean. Now I can't wait for the window to shut. It's just so tedious at this point, isn't it?
The couple of things to say about Woltemade. I've not seen a lot of him. The only time I'd seen him was the under-21 final. And England played really well for the majority of that game. Great on transition in the first half. So he didn't overly stand out, I didn't think, in the final, but was aware, people like, yeah, he's come to be play at the tournament. Okay, fair enough. Stature-wise, he reminds of Haaland. It's that big, kind of powerful, and he has, I don't want to say similarities. Haaland's running power is obviously extraordinary, but if you look at clips of Woltemade, like he's, as you said, he's a decent like ball carrier. It's kind of a strange one for 6'6". I think the note of caution I'd have on him is per the data. I mean, the data you said doesn't sound remarkable, and he's kind of only really been at the top level, feels like a year, really. Now, he's still quite young, but he's not, we say was per the tournament, the under 21s. He's not 19, 20. He's 22 or 23, I think.
He's 23, yeah.
23. 23. Yeah. So it's still obviously relatively young. I'm not sure if that was Newcastle's only forward this year. I'd be a bit nervous for them about that, but he might develop into something very, very good. I think it needs something that can be used as a rotatable option at the moment. The fee seems massive for what we've seen so far, and comparing to other transfers, we spoke about Ekateke, Sesko, and who's the other one who's been on the move?
Gyökeres.
Thank you very much. Easy to forget my FPL captain this week. He plays for the enemy, so I've wiped it from my mind. But it's in that sort of ballpark of those others, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
More. Yeah. There is different views in terms of what the likely fee is for that particular transfer. Can you cover the next bit, David? Because I'm still a little bit nervous, but I don't think I should be. In fact, I'll tell you why I'm nervous, because I did this last Friday, but for the benefit, David, of everybody on the audio, can you read what's on my T-shirt?
Lads, it's Tottenham.
It does appear at time of recording this morning that Xavi Simons is going to be a Tottenham player.
You have washed that T-shirt since last week.
I have washed this T-shirt. Yeah. I have not worn it since last Friday, and I promise everyone I won't wear it next Friday. This isn't going to be an every week thing. I did it on purpose because I wanted to come in here this morning, because I woke up this morning to the news of it's very close, and I wanted to come on here and say, yeah, lads, it's Tottenham. It's not done till Chelsea say it's not done. But the word from Matt Law is this morning that Chelsea aren't interested, aren't coming back. It's had the here we go from Romano, Ornstein, the lot. I'm only nervous because I'm a Tottenham fan. It looks done.
It's part of you thinking, fucking hell, why don't Chelsea want him? He can't be any good then. Yeah, it sounds. As we record, the tweets are coming out, aren't they? That he signed a contract and Chelsea aren't going to hijack it, and sounds like a 7-year deal. I've kind of only really seen him for the Netherlands in the Euros, really. So I can't say I'm a massive expert on him. He's definitely skillful, isn't he? He scored against England, didn't he, in the semis? Did he score the goal in the
semis? Yeah, brilliant goal, yeah.
That's a great goal, that. You definitely need someone, don't you, before the window shuts? So I guess you just got to take it on face value and hope for the good times to roll. Really,
I mean,
really.
with Gibbs White and Eze, there's
I know you really wanted
there's a
those.
nervousness till
Yeah,
he's holding the shirt, obviously.
yeah.
But it does look like, and I think even it does look like this deal has been worked on all night, as was the case when Tottenham were trying to talk with Palace over Eza. And I think that just down to Tottenham's nervousness that someone was coming in to hijack. I'm indifferent on the signing. I'll tell you why. I've said a number of times on the podcast this summer that I'm not hugely high on him. I'm not. That's an influence. So I'm now questioning my mind why not? Because I obviously want to be high on the player. And let me certainly clarify that I'm not unhappy with this signing. I think he hasn't impressed me when I've seen him for the Netherlands. We discussed off camera before we started. I don't know if there's an influence on all I've seen of him really is in Euros last summer. And Euros as a whole was a shite tournament, actually, if we reflect on it. Shouldn't have been, but it was. And I don't think he particularly stood out for the Dutch on. I remember this one moment. Can't recall who they were playing. Might have been the Czechs, and he was sent through, and he had all he had to do was control it and hit it. And he took a touch, and it kind of went away from him on the angle, and then he was trying to shoot on the stretch. And he was a player that I think naturally you watch out for because he was talked about a lot from fantasy anyway, right? We was obviously looking at it during the tournament. And it just didn't impress me particularly. But when you look at clips of him, he's obviously a good ball carrier. Now, tournament football, in terms of international football in the summer and the quality of it, it's a bit slower. So maybe when you're playing games here and you've got a bit more in transition, he's able to carry a little bit more. Maybe he'll stand out a little bit more. I will tell you truthfully, on what I'd seen of him previously, my impressions of him was that he would go to Chelsea and he would just be another name that they would end up selling in a couple of years. That's generally what I thought. I thought I don't see him breaking into the Chelsea team. So I've not been high on what I've seen of him. Everybody else is, for clarity. And what he does definitely fall into is what I've called for in terms of what I want from a Tottenham number 10 is I said we need a more dynamic 10. We was getting linked with Paquetá this week. That's just the wrong option. I spoke about this a lot on Tottenham with Suj on Patreon. It's the wrong option. Tottenham needs something that's more dynamic in that area. That he absolutely is. But I'm to be convinced, let's say. But I'm pleased. Like overnight, I was like, I want this to go through. I don't dislike the player. I'm just saying that personally, on what I've seen, he hasn't impressed me that much.
Yeah, I think in his defence, that's a small sample size, though, isn't it, of
Of course
what
it
you've
is.
seen on him? So, yeah, I understand first impressions count sometimes, don't they? But yeah, clean slate for him. Now he's a hopefully Spurs player for you anyway.
This was going to lead into a segment where we spoke about how Chelsea will hijack the deal. I can only assume at this stage. I actually don't assume. Just move on, James. We're going to preview Chelsea and Fulham a little bit for this weekend. The obvious one here would have been to do Liverpool and Arsenal, but I would certainly recommend Clash of Correspondence with Dan and Adam, where we speak tactically quite a bit about that game this weekend as well. I wanted to cover Chelsea versus Fulham. It's the early kickoff. It's on the telly. People get to watch it. And I think Fulham's system change felt like one of the standout things for me tactically last weekend. And as I said on Monday's podcast, I wasn't that impressed with it personally. It didn't really do it for me. So I went back and had a look at how Fulham played at Stamford Bridge on Boxing Day because they won at Chelsea. Coming from behind, it's got to cut the late goals. By the way, I think the system had shifted a little bit by that point. But it did strike me that they played a hybrid, I would say, back four slash back 3-5 at Chelsea with Robinson and Castagna. Issa Diop played as basically the right-sided centre-back. They had a real lean to the left-hand side. So even Calvin Bassey kind of really pushed up. For those on YouTube, we're showing a graphic of Fulham's average positions in that win at Chelsea last season. And their bias towards attacking down the left-hand side. So what do we think, David? Back three again for Fulham or not?
Could be, couldn't it? Yeah, Anthony Robinson's back now, isn't he? So
I don't know
whether
if he's
that,
going to be good to go, though.
yeah,
Like, he didn't appear in midweek against Bristol City. Is that a saving for Chelsea? You ain't
it's
going to
hard
get
to
90
know, isn't
minutes
it?
out of him.
Yeah, and I guess Silva will probably not give that much away in the press conference today, will he? You wouldn't. I wouldn't if I was him.
He's not
Just
going to say who's going to start or
yeah,
what system he's going to play.
yeah. I mean, the obvious way to look at it is that what worked last season might work this season. Although you will have numerous new players involved in the fixture, but Fulham quite relish these sort of games. I think, don't they? They are
Yeah,
they enjoy spoiling the big
horrible
clubs.
team to beat well, I would say.
Yeah, we didn't beat them last season. The game at Anfield, they were extremely good, albeit we were down to 10 men for most of it. They're a handful. Yeah, you've got to play well to beat Fulham. So I guess with Chelsea, you see maybe Reece James starting and Cucurella bombing on. Maybe is that how you see it?
Yeah, that's the biggest knock on here. That kind of message I wanted to get across from the fantasy perspective. I think because of that bias for the left side, and whether Robinson plays or not, Ryan Sessegnon can play the role as he
Yeah.
did against Manchester United. And you might get something where Bassi pushes on the outside of Cuenca again. Remember, Bassi played left back at Brighton opening day as well. So they might have that bias there. And looking back on the Chelsea team from that fixture last year, it was notable that Reece James was absent from that. So I wonder if, as a consequence, Maresca will look at it and think, right, well, if we deal with that side, we'll deal with them much better. And then obviously you trust your higher standard of player and ability and tactical flexibility, etc., to do the business from there. So I think I want to get across a couple of things. I think Fulham will probably play a back three again. I think also an added layer to this is we think Harry Wilson might be out. And when
Okay.
Fulham went back to a back four at the weekend, Wilson came on, went on the right, looked lively straight away. So if Wilson's out as well, that possibly leans into playing a back three again. I think the consequences, I think Reece James will probably play. And I think Mark Cucurella will allow to be more advanced again. We've seen Cucurella very advanced day one. We saw him very defensive against West Ham. I think if as long as Reece James is available, which we can never guarantee, I think he will probably play this fixture. And I think Mark Cucurella will probably play a more advanced role. It's also the consequence of not knowing at this stage in terms of whether Cole Palmer will be fit or not.
Yeah,
I would suggest for those who are tempted by something like Esteval, which I think you look on your eyes and you go, yeah, that is quite tempting.
he looks fun, doesn't
He does.
he? Yeah.
I thought they'd signed Xavi Simons yesterday. So they're going to do something this week. And we didn't mention Garnacho is obviously,
Mm.
that's it. Here we go. I don't really want to speak about that because it's all right for Romano to give his here we goes yesterday. I gave you the here we go on that 3 months ago. It was the most
He did.
inevitable transfer of the summer. But
Good
he's going to
work.
go in that team. So I think you could look at Esteban and go, right, so Garnacho will eventually come in the team. Does he go on the left? Is it Neto back to right? There's question marks on Esteval then, isn't there?
Yeah, yeah.
You got anything you want to add on that tactically for that particular fixture, David?
No, no. I think I guess in terms of, I'll come on to Palmer in a bit, but with it being the early kickoff, you might get a bit of a whisper in terms of whether Palmer will play or not. But yeah, that I'll definitely try and catch that game. I think early tomorrow it could be an interesting one. I think.
Yeah. First half in Enfield Town, second half outside the stadium at White Lane is the plan for
Yeah,
me. Yes, I'll be tuning in. Let's end with a bit of game week three stuff. Now, we mentioned Palmer. At time of recording, we don't know where we're at in terms of his availability. I see David looking away to probably a different monitor. Have we got Enzo Maresca comments yet, David? We haven't, have we? I wouldn't
no,
have
no. I
thought.
was just dialing up my free hit and wildcard drafts just in advance for in a bit. But no, nothing. Nothing.
Maresca's press conference is at 1 o'clock
Yeah, I think it's this
UK time
afternoon. Yeah.
today. So there'll be a lot of people with Palmer, pretty much after teams actually at the moment. I haven't decided what I want to do. Are you an owner, David?
Cole Palmer.
Yes.
No, I'm not. No,
You're
no, I'm not
not, so you
Palmer.
don't have to worry about that. Are you a Saka owner?
No.
Okay. I think Saka is definitely in the line of sell. I think that's
Yeah.
partly as well with Arsenal's immediate fixtures. They're a very good run, obviously, from game week 7 onwards, but I think that's an immediate sell. With Palmer, I kind of had the intention, David, to captain him in 4 and 6 as someone taking on Salah and Haaland. So I'd like the info. That said, unless he was to start tomorrow, I don't think I'd have the confidence to captain him in 4 in any case. And we do know from Maresca's comments that he was carrying this problem even going into the Crystal Palace game in game week 1. I want to leave my decision late because I suspect what Maresca is going to tell us today is either something obvious, which is a problem, and then it's an obvious sell, or we'll see and you'll find out in the morning. As you said, as it's the early kickoff, it might be a rare late one for me. If you had Palmer or Saka, there's two ways of doing it, right? You're either going up to Salah and moving the money, or you've got to come down. What do you think your instinct would be, David?
Um, if I didn't have Bruno Fernandes, I'd certainly get Bruno Fernandes for Saka, because Arsenal's fixtures not the best probably. I think it's fair to say for the next few weeks. Palmer, I would be inclined to hold on to. I think might not play tomorrow, but then we've got an international break. I mean, it won't be long until you probably want him back if he's only out for a couple of weeks. And none of the other options are really like getting to Salah's a bit of a leap from Palmer, I think. So if you can kind of hide him, my view would be
It's a lot more to hide early on, isn't it? And
for 1 week though.
We're all more conscious of the value of players at this time of season as well.
Depends on the prognosis, I think, doesn't it? If he's only missing tomorrow, I wouldn't sell him, I don't think.
Yeah, I guess for people it's also impactful in terms of what you've got. Like it's a no frills, but if Maresca went, he's doubtful for tomorrow, I'd probably just roll with it. I've got Dewsbury Hall away to Wolves first coverage. It's not dreamy, but there's worse weeks I could have come up with that as a little bit of cover, and it's going to save me 2 transfers.
Yeah,
that's really important message here.
I think if you ask yourself, if I sell Palmer, when am I going to want him back? And if it's fairly soon, and he's only out for a little while, then just suck it up this week.
What I looked at, and I did a plan for advanced tier patrons on midweek dilemma this week, where I looked at could I afford to sell him. So I kind of a vision of what I'd like my team to look at in game week 8 when I know there's a round sort between 6 and 9. A lot of people be wildcarding. How can I compete against that? What I wanted to look at was my path of the ideal kind of team roughly I wanted. Could I afford the luxury of one out for Palmer and then obviously bringing him back in? And I concluded that I could. I could do it. But if I've got 2 free transfers, it will deal with other problems, etc., that I'll obviously have to deal with, loss of form, change of opinions, etc., etc. So ideally, I'd like to keep him. The most likely choice for me is someone who owns Bruno Fernandes already and doesn't want to look at 2 Manchester United players away to Manchester City and Chelsea in game weeks 4 and 5. Is probably Ismail Assar for me.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Which I think, timing wise, isn't great with them going to Villa and obviously played in the Conference League Thursday nights. You've got the Thursday Sunday problem now. But I can see it being one that if he did return this week, and I think I've seen the stat, he's got like 7 attacking returns his last 5 games against Villa or something. I know the stats are amazing anyway. Sunderland and West Ham follow. So if Sarr did well this weekend, I just know that's an international break train. And if I was ahead of it, I'd be quite happy with that. And he's a player that's in my mind for that period later on as well. So there's only really one game where they play away to Arsenal to be concerned about. You look at even playing against your team in game week 6, actually for Sarr specifically, it might not be a terrible fixture. He scored against you in the Community Shield as well, didn't he? Did he score to go on Anfield final day as well? He scored at Anfield final day.
I think he did actually, yeah. I think it might have been Ismail Assar, yeah.
So that's the one. I've concluded that it was going to be Gordon, but then Van Dijk took a bit of a dive Monday night, didn't he, David? So Sar's the one I think would be for me. I think if it's no Manchester United, I would go there first, despite all the problems. If I've got one, I wouldn't add a second, I don't think.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
It would be your preference on the United 3? From Fernandes, Bumo, Cunha?
Fernandes. Yeah,
just know what you're getting, didn't you?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm very happy to have him in my team. I feel like tomorrow he'll be all over it, won't he? He's my captain tomorrow, spoiler alert. But so many avenues to points, isn't there? I think, yeah.
I'm going to be captain Bruno as well. It's exactly that. I'm not hugely high on it, but it's probably the best of what I got and has covered for the last couple of weeks. It does feel with him at the moment that the one return could lead to a whole. So I think one thing we did see midweek, by the way, is he'll still be on penalties, wouldn't he? If anyone thought Cunha or Bumo was nicking them, I don't think that's happening. Right, so Bruno Fernandes, captain for you and for me. Is he your captain in a free hit draft, David? You put together a free hit draft for us. Talk us through it.
He was very close to being my captain. I got Erling Haaland in and find it difficult to have Erling Haaland in a free hit and not just captain him. But I think it's absolutely fair enough to captain Bruno Fernandes in a free hit this week as well. So yeah, this week's free hit draft. Three Forest, so double Forest defence. Got Matt Sells and Murillo. As ever, Murillo or Milankovic is a coin toss, really, isn't it? Whether you want to do that. Chris Wood could have a good day, couldn't he? Based on what we've seen from West Ham tomorrow, so I've got him up front. Three United, Matthijs de Ligt, Fernandes and Cunha. Despite what happened on Wednesday night, I think if you're on free hit, you kind of have to attack three United, I think, with Burnley at home.
Yeah, definitely.
To Chelsea, so we just spoke about Cucurella, could be a good game for him. If Reece James plays, could be some space for him on that left-hand side. João Pedro started the season really well. Erling Haaland up front is the other one. The 11th player, I wrestled with this. It was between Brennan Johnson and Dango Utara at Sunderland. My heart was saying punt Dango because I think that could be. He just finds a way to score goals sometimes, doesn't he, Dango, for some reason? But Bren Johnson's on a bit of a tear at the moment, isn't he? And I guess he will play tomorrow only while he's still sorting other bits of business out. So, yeah, Brennan Johnson. And Harvey Barnes as well. I think with Gordon out, he's a surefire starter at Leeds tomorrow. And looking at the way Leeds defended at Arsenal on Saturday, I think he could have some joy. I think Harvey Barnes tomorrow night.
So you've got Sells, Murillo, De Ligt, Cucurella, Barnes, Johnson, Fernandes, Cunha, Wood, João Pedro, Haaland, captain.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, there's similarities, and I think it's fairly obvious it was probably going to land that way in terms of the draft that I put together. There's a few differences. Probably the biggest one is I've gone treble Newcastle in mine. I've put Nick Pope in as goalkeeper, and I couldn't really decide between Elanga and Barnes, so I went with both. I think there's even a small possibility that they might even play as almost like split forwards. You think about the way Newcastle finished the game
Yeah.
Against yourselves on Monday night. Just a note I would add on that though, I'm assuming Fabian Schär is unavailable as he was a concussion substitute. If he is cleared to play, he 100% would be in a free hit team for me because he may well be on penalties.
Yeah, I read that. Yeah, interesting.
But I've put this together assuming that he's unavailable. I went Cucurella, like yourself, and João Pedro. That feels the obvious Chelsea too. I don't mind, by the way, like an Esteval punt or something this week, but I didn't feel like I wanted much coverage of that. Like I think Chelsea win tomorrow. I don't think they destroy Fulham. Fulham and Palace, two teams. I always say I don't really want to be captain to play against those two teams.
I agree with that.
That's how I feel about them. Yeah. I've gone Milenkovic rather than Murillo. The reason for Milenkovic over Murillo for me is I watched West Ham try and defend corners on Friday night against Chelsea. So I just think Milenkovic has more of a threat from that perspective. So for this specific week, I'd prefer Milenkovic. Front three is the same as yours. So Wood, Haaland captain. I've gone Wood vice, by the way. I probably would go Wood over a United player for captaincy this week. I think they're the only two I would and Haaland. So Haaland, Wood, João Pedro. The three Manchester United I've gone is Dorgu, Bumo, Fernandes. The reason for going those three, and I think it's probably three from 4 or 5. So you've gone De Ligt for potential DEFCON aerial threat set plays. The other name obviously to mention is Cunha. I think a lot of teams that free hit this week will go with the 3 United attackers. I think it's perfectly fine. I felt I wanted one of the defensive ones. Dorgu has shown some promise in terms of what he could be. He actually had a break in midweek, one of the rare ones that did. And I'm spooked by knowing that I think Sesko's going to play. Now, the most likely thing is that Sesko plays, Bumo Cunha behind, fine. But I'm a little bit spooked that is Cunha 100% star. I'm putting it at 90%. Bumo and Fernandes would be 100% on.
Yeah,
that's for this 1 week is essentially the reason for the call. Cunha played the whole game the other night. By the way, on Sesko taking the 10th penalty, one that's bizarre, but I don't want to go criticizing because we don't know that he might not have an injury problem. Because that's the best explanation I can have for him being 10th. It's
Yeah,
probably the best lineup of 11 penalty takers I've ever seen.
I thought that before the penalty
And it's
shootout.
still,
But
they still didn't
there's
win.
no way
Like,
United are losing this with the penalty
Maguire
shootout.
took a penalty in the Euro final for England, probably the best England penalty of all time. And he was like seventh or eighth. It was
I
an
know.
insane list of players they had to take the penalties.
They just didn't have a good goalkeeper for them, unfortunately.
He got close to a few, didn't he?
He did score one, in fairness.
Tottenham Hotspur legend Andre Onana. Cheers, pal.
Yeah,
Two of the best nights of my life. So I would be my free hit is Pope, Milenkovic, Cucurella, Dogu, Ilanga, Barnes, Fernandes, Bumo, Haaland, Wood, Cucurella. On Brennan Johnson, do you think he'll start? Don't think that's in question this week. If people want to go a Tottenham player on free hit, I think that's perfectly reasonable. I've actually got Pap Sarr on mine as first substitute. I will repeat what I said on Monday. We will have a more difficult game tomorrow than we had last week.
yeah,
I think it's going to be a real big challenge that game tomorrow. I'm probably going to predict it for a draw, I think, actually. Whereas I fancy Newcastle, despite their injury issues, Leeds have lost Tanaka on top of Ampadu. I think that's a big problem. You've got to go Treble United. I think you do want a bit of coverage with Chelsea at home. And Haaland, you kind of feel like drawn into putting Haaland or Salah in by default because the money's clearly available if you free hit this week, basically.
yeah.
Wood is something Wood and something defensive. Nottingham Forest is a shoe in.
Yeah, three Forest just felt like the first three on the team sheet, to be honest, this week.
Okay, right. What would be different if you were going to wild card this week, David? And I'm going to preempt you some of your words. You and I don't like these drafts.
No, I know a lot are on Wildcard. There might be a few wavering about activating before the weekend, and if you're in that position, I would, having had a look at it, I would urge you just try and get through it, even with a -4 if you can, because we're in game week 3 of 38. It's a powerful chip, and but maybe there'll be a lot of people watching or listening that probably felt like they had no choice, and for those people, yeah, fair enough. I did have a look at it using your fixture ticker. Right at the top of the fixture ticker, or right near the top, are yourselves actually in terms of the next few. So what I was thinking with a wild card at this point, I would want to wild card and then just roll for a long time if I was going to do it at this point. I know you spoke about.
It's a good way to do it, by the way. For those who are on wildcard now, the next big swings are that period I'd spoken about. So you've got like City 6, Arsenal 7, Chelsea 9, and then game week 13, there's another load of swings again.
Yeah.
How are you going to manage those two next blocks? So I think if you can roll where possible, set yourselves to do that, then deal with the 6 to 9 problem. Then same thing again, roll, deal with the 13 problem again. Because it's not like you get another one of these.
Exactly what you just said. Yeah. So this wild card is with a view of rolling right up until game week 6 when those Arsenal Chelsea fixtures come into play. So with that in mind, 3 Villa, 3 Tottenham felt. I actually only got 2 Tottenham in the end. I made a few changes. Double Tottenham defence. Who'd have thought it? We've come to this point. So
you lot have all been hoodwinked, mate.
So Porro and Romero. But you look solid at the moment. I don't want to jinx anything for you, but yeah, Porro and Romero at the back. 3 Villa. Villa have still got great fixtures. Conser, Rodgers, and Watkins. You'd probably be flipping Watkins when you get towards 6 or maybe 7, something like that. I've still got Salah. Might be wanting to look towards Arsenal or City at a certain point, but he covers up the captaincy relatively well over the next few weeks. Picked Elliot Anderson for the solid 5.5 option. Bruno Fernandes covers up captaincy quite well this weekend, but he's not going anywhere in my team for a long, long time, I don't think.
He might if he don't get the points, David. The points, you'd have to look at it at some stage, wouldn't you?
I guess so, yeah. I'm quite happy with him for the foreseeable. 3 strikers I've got, Watkins, as I've said, João Pedro. Chelsea are all right for a while. Strand Larson is the cheaper striker. Dubravka, cheap keeper. Rodon, cheap defender. And Semenyo, Bournemouth's fixtures for the next few weeks are pretty good. Over the next few weeks, when you head towards 6 and 7, there'll be plenty of times when Semenyo will be a good option for you. but I'm not in love with it. I have to say, I would, if you're kind of on the fence with it, I would have a look at it and see if a -4 can kind of get you through the next few weeks towards 6, and just kind of stomach it for now, I think.
Yeah, for those who've activated, like the most important thing is you know your reasons why you've done it. Very
Yeah,
good luck with it and play it your way. For those who are umming and ahhing about it, I would not be doing it right now personally. I think it would be better served at other points. I think the value plays a lot of concern in people's minds. And I think with 2 games gone, and some of those who had good fixtures at the start who did not great, i.e. Villa as an example, haven't scored yet, still sit absolutely top of my ticker for the next 5. Watkins to Gyökeres in 8 or 9 is probably what I'd be doing. Awkwardness is Arsenal's good run starts in 7. Watkins has Burnley at home in 7. I wouldn't be cutting him then, even if he didn't score between now and now. Differences between who was your keepers, by the way? Did you say, David? Did you say?
I have Petrovic and Dubravka. Petrovic isn't great this week, obviously, but I wanted a 4. Needed a 4.5 keeper, and if I could kind of get through this week, he's the best of the 4.5s in my eyes for the next few. But yeah, this week doesn't look great for Petrovic.
Okay. Differences I've gone with to you. So I've gone Sanchez in goal, and I've gone Dubravka as the other keeper. Thought process on that was a lot around the other defenders I'd arguably want to put in, and coming to a conclusion not to put Cucurella in at the moment. He's absolutely fine pick, by the way. It was more about what I wanted from other teams was more a defender rather than the keeper. And I'd now be surprised if Chelsea bought a goalkeeper in the next 3 days. I wouldn't put it past them, but at the moment, I would now kind of be on the 98%. I feel comfortable. Defenders, Porro, same as you. Ezri Konsa, I'd leave him. And Joe Rodon as 4.0. The reason Joe Rodon the 4.0, I just think ultimately in the next 10 or so, Leeds fixtures are much better than Sunderland or Burnley. So if I have to fall on it in the immediate, that's the one I'd want. I've put Gabriel in with the view of benching him this week. So that's ready to go. And I think that saves a transfer further down the line. It also will cover nicely for the other defender I've picked, which is Murillo, who I probably wouldn't want to play at Arsenal in game week 4. So bring Gabriel in, can use Konsa over these period of games, and it's all right. It's no frills, but they've got a good run of fixtures. So Gabriel would save a transfer down the line, and I very much felt that I want one in there at the 6. Now, at this stage, I'd probably cut Van Dijk
Yeah, I
because I've just
noticed
been
that. Yeah,
uncomfortable with what I've seen from you defensively. My plan in my team is Van Dijk to Gabriel in 6. But I looked at a draft where I had Cucurella in at the 6 and was like, I wouldn't take him out. And Gabriel actually for that period feels like the bigger priority first and foremost for me. Sanchez still gives the Chelsea coverage. Midfielders, Salah in. My viewpoint on that would be to flip that to Haaland in 6 if I was wildcard in now. So in for this week, captain 4-5. It gets flipped with something for Haaland 6. Other midfielders for me, Bruno Fernandes in. Morgan Rogers, I think you had as well, didn't you, David?
I don't think I did. Oh, yes, sorry. Yes, I have
Yeah.
got my Rogers. Yeah, yeah,
I put Josh King in as a 4.5 at the moment.
yeah.
And I put Reinders in, given a little bit of coverage. What that also may enable is if there's some sort of panic where it's like, oh, don't want to get round Haaland, there maybe is some City coverage that I could use for a captaincy in 6 ready to go. There are a few good fixtures there. Up front, I went João Pedro Watkins as well. And I think just in front of me, I'd go Wood in and a captain this week.
Yeah. I guess you can have fun with those 7.5 strikers, can't you? Over the you could almost just rotate them as and when the fixtures turn good for all of them.
It might be a mad one, but I spoke about Forest Sunderland in game week 6 a few times now. Obviously, Europa League draw is later today. If Forest's first game's really tough, I can foresee a scenario where Wood doesn't start against Sunderland. And it might sound mad, but I've looked at that as the potential flipper to Haaland. And you're off one early. Forest fixtures does turn tougher straight after that from 7 onwards. So, yeah, Sanchez, Porro, Konsa, Murillo, Salah, Fernandes, Reinders, Rogers, Wood, Watkins, João Pedro, bus team for this week. Dubravka, King, Gabriel, Rodon on the
Yeah,
bench.
I like having Gabriel ready for you. That's a good.
I
Somehow,
know at this stage that I've got no Arsenal. I know
yeah,
that once I hit their good fixtures, I would want three.
yeah,
It would save a transfer on the line. And I liked that because there's more here that I'm unknowns about. Like suddenly, if I'm getting to eight and Villa have been shit and I've got three of them, right, we've got probably it's not just Watkins to Yoker, it's going to be Rogers to something else, and
yeah.
there'll be other stuff to deal with. So I wanted a bit more flexibility and try and save a transfer on path. David, thank you very much, mate. Have a
Okay, mate.
great weekend. Anything else from you?
No, nothing from me. Yeah, have a great weekend, everyone.
All right, super. For our patrons, differential show will be out shortly with Suj and Clayton. Team news stream for advanced tier patrons now scheduled for 3:30 p.m. UK time tomorrow. Today, sorry, deadline stream is tomorrow on YouTube, 10 a.m. UK time. The weekend will return next Friday. Got a bumper week for you next week as well. Game review pod on Monday. Two Clash of Correspondence for you. Manchester Derby on Tuesday with Johnny Pringle and Alex Trembath. Brentford versus Chelsea on Wednesday with Tom Med, Gary Mansell. We've got a WSL preview with Lauren Harris on Thursday as well. And then David will be back with me on Friday. If you want to support the show, it's www.patreon.com/Planet FPL. But for myself and David, be nice to each other, everyone. Play it your way. Cue music, please, man child.